20. We're pulling in.
Pull in. I don't watch the Super Bowl, but I
What's that?
The Super Bowl?
Yeah.
It's
Is it
crazy, bro.
is it something you make a salad in?
Super Bowl, man. Whoa.
Whoa, this is the illusion and promo code.
I'll never get past that, bro. It's all good though.
It's perfect, dude.
They call me promo code.
Promo code. You got to have a nickname, dude.
I'm owning it. Okay. I mean, the illusion of the promo code, man.
It's the illusion and the
dynamic duo. I guess.
Yeah. We're here, dude. I made sure I skated before I came on for episode number 20 of Riding the Skatrix, everybody. We are 20 episodes deep into this, dude. What do you think about that? 20. Yeah. Just like that, dude. We'll be knocking on number 100.
Let's keep it cuck free though, okay?
Cuck free, dude. Yeah,
What was the term? I forgot. What was the new one?
Cuck hunting?
No, was it cuck hunting? No, it was something else.
No, dude.
I forgot the name of it. We were talking about how every nine episode on what's it called? The
900 Club. The 9 Club.
They always have guys. Everyone's always cucking on there. So what do we?
Dude, it was cuckaroonski.
So corn.
Yeah, well, we were talking about how the one of the supposed real rebels of skateboarding had cucked on the 900 Club, dude. We won't throw his name in the mix. He might come onto our show one day.
Yeah, I'm at this point. I think it's good to say whoever whenever it's necessary. But if it's not necessary, then we won't call.
I don't know anymore. I think at this point that the real cocks are the parents in the state of California, dude. Like I'm on.
Yeah. I sometimes feel like a cuck, and I'm trying to fight the battle of feeling cucked, but that's why I told you the other day I'm going to start writing, because we're in a dilemma where we just had another baby. We've got 5 kids in the house. My wife is just on maternity leave, and I've run a full business. And my goal is to not have her have to work, go back to the hospital. She's on the religious exemption from the sauce. So, you never know how long it's going to last. So in the intervening period, we're trying to have the kids have a place to go to school. And we purposely enroll them in a private school so we can get them special, good education. And the private school is lame because they're totally following all the mandates, full style. So, it's hard because you're at the mercy of. I'm at the mercy of immigrants who are scared, terrified to stand up for themselves because of post 9/11 trauma, because Muslims have been specifically, going through a major, they're scared of everything. And I think that was by design. So I don't want to bore you with the details, but they're scared already because they feel like the government has, a lens over them. But it's not so, and I try to talk to them, but yeah, that's why writing might be the best. I think is one of the best resorts.
Yeah, it's gnarly, man. For me what I don't like so we've been on this journey the entire time of this. What I don't like is this whole. So, wait. Let me see, dude. Can I pull this off? I can't. I'm not ready. Wait.
And the other thing is trying to bring my wife onto the level. Like, she gets it, but she also is not completely ready to make all the sacrifices. So we're just tolerating. We obviously, you know, my stance and everything. This is this fictional COVID narrative, which is a great scripted movie. We get that. I'm not confused at all about the lunacy of it all. At the same time, the real world, you know, is there for us every day when we get up, and we have to do things, and the kids have to be somewhere, and there has to be a rhythm, and there has to be a routine. And, you know, to our fault, that routine, not just to our fault, but to many people, that routine is sort of like part and parcel of living in this country, is that, you know, you have to have a sort of a way that you go through your day so you can get your stuff done. I can't just put my kids on my back every day and bring them to work and homeschool them at, you know. So I'm getting close to that. That's one of my 12-year-old is already in homeschool. He does the Waldorf homeschool. He has a great teacher, but it's online. But yeah, man, I mean, there needs to be something more. I do feel like I'm cucking sometimes because I know what it takes to really do it. But I have to, like, my kids know how retarded it is. You know, that's a good thing. But yeah, man, it's tough.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is where I said like a gear flipped in my gear, right? So you've been struggling with this dilemma for a while, right? This isn't something that started 2 weeks ago with you, right? About children, school, what you got to do, the balancing act of this, you know what I'm saying?
The point is, if I had a choice, I would bring them all at home.
No,
but my standard, but my wife is, you know what I mean? Like someone.
Oh, dude. Totally. I know that. I got somewhere I'm going with this. That's why. Good. That's why I'm asking you. So this has been, and I already know the answer to this, but this is something that you've been struggling with as a man and a father to your children and the education, and you're already removed from the public government schools, right? So this is a private school issue, but you've been struggling with this longer than 2 weeks, correct?
I swear to God, bro, and I don't like to swear to God loosely. I'll say this only one thing, that every time I bring my kids to school, I'm cursing those people and I'm cursing myself because I'm so aggravated, you know.
Okay, but this has been going on, but this didn't just start
since the beginning.
Okay, all right. So
I've never changed.
Where I've flipped a switch about it, where I've gone on the warpath, is that there seems to be this big thing that started when this came out, right? So this picture came out, and all of a sudden everybody's like, oh my God, the hypocrisy. These people are hanging out with Magic Johnson and Eric Garcetti and Gavin Newsom, and they're not wearing their thing on their face. How dare they? And the children have to go to school tomorrow. And that, I'm sorry, like, people who have been struggling with this for a year plus, 2 years now, I have empathy for you. This Johnny come lately because of this photo. So what that tells me is if these two fools had cloth covering on their face 2 weeks ago when this photo was taken, people would not be up in arms about their children with coverings on their face. And what I'm getting real burnout on, or becoming militant about, I don't know what it is yet, is the fact that people are blaming the system at this point. And the system's not at fault. Governor Newsom's not at fault. Eric Garcetti's not at fault. Bree London's not at fault. The parents are at fault. And the parents have chosen to do this to their children, right? And for whatever, we all have to make decisions, and it's not easy. But what I resent, and it's a resentment, is all of a sudden, because of that one picture, it's now become an outrage. And I go, so wait a minute. It wasn't an outrage the day before that picture, and the 6 months before that picture, and the year before that picture. So I'm seeing this whole thing go around, especially down here in my zone, is how outrageous. There's 80,000 people in SoFi Stadium on a Sunday, and Monday, all the children are going to have to be wrapped in their stuff. And I'm like, did you not get the memo that these people hate you and your children? Like, I guess I'm not mad about it. I'm just like, it's the gloves are off, right? You know this. I know this. They hate us and they hate our children. Doesn't matter what your race is. Doesn't matter what your color your skin is. Doesn't matter who you pray to, how you pray, what you eat, what you don't eat, whether you take the sauce, don't take the sauce. They hate us. And it's super clear. And what I've become real thing about is the people that are suddenly making this an issue the last 2 weeks and haven't been in on the fight to save our reality and our children and our relationship with our divine creator for the entire time, right? Like, and that's why I asked you that question, because I know as your friend how much you have to struggle and balance with your situation.
I was listening to your talk in the car today with Owl, so I totally get where you're coming from. I listened to the first 5 minutes of it. It was a 9-minute video. I do remember, and you were mentioning that in that talk. It was the light version, as you said. So I get it, man. I know, and I'm totally there with you. When you said that, I was like, when you reiterated that, I absolutely.
Because I'm not talking to the people that have been fighting this for a long time. I guess where my angle is coming from is like it's obviously like this. It's Stockholm syndrome or whatever you want to call it, where like suddenly because you see one picture, now you've greenlit yourself to be outraged about something. And I go, why are you begging for a system that has declared war on your children to alter their path? I don't get why anyone, this is again, I think across the board, I don't get why anyone thinks that the beastly system ever plans on being benevolent to us. They don't. They will never ever relent with what they're doing unless we just go about our own business without them. So I just been getting flooded with it the last week, and I finally just snapped and was like, enough, man. Like, who's really at fault here? Who's really responsible here? Is it some a-hole governor, or is it every one of these parents that claims they're pissed because their child's in a mask, but still drops them off at a public school, shaking their fist, going, yeah. And meanwhile, yeah, I get it. I'm sitting here getting into a full-blown argument with Owl about why he did 20 problems of advanced subtraction, and then the 21st problem he threw down his pencil and stared at the wall and threw the e-brakes on and said, I can't do it anymore, right? Like, I know how hard this homeschooling thing is, and 5 times the children, right? And
yeah, I'm like, just to add to that, if someone's asked me to be brutally honest about how I feel as a man and knowing everything that I see transpiring in front of me, I do feel a variety of emotions. I'm angry. I have a lot of resentment. I'm pissed off. I'm sad. And I have to be really careful because my wife and other people around me might not be have the same awareness and feel the same gravity as I feel. And that navigating that, slowly bringing everyone over, slowly, with love and with like consistency of, that's why I don't use terms like, I don't say, oh, the pandemic is, I've never ever referred to it like that, ever. I've never said, oh, I've never went and said I got tested for COVID-19. I don't use those terms.
No.
And the reason why, what I'm getting at is that it's really important, because those same people that drop their kid off at the public school and have all this sort of fake rage are the same people that says, oh, that dastardly pandemic, I got to go get tested again. And, this is the kind of like, they're playing into the whole thing. So I've made sure that I don't speak the language, firstly, because you have to change
Sure.
ideology before you can change your physicality. You have to change your thinking before you can change your direction.
Very, very astute. And yeah, I think we're a little bit where I kind of like cracked in the last day or so about this one particular issue, is because the way I see it is like, so, all right, let's say they do just say, okay, well, you no longer have to do this thing to send your children to school. They can go, they don't have, it's optional now. And what I say to that is I go, they showed you who they are. They've showed you that they do not have no educator. I'm going to blanket statement say this. There's no educator that knows anything about children could ever condone this, what has happened to this generation of young children.
You want to add insult to injury, and this is where I look at, is that amongst and throughout this 2 years and way before, but let's just talk about the past even year, how many stories has the, whatever you want to call the legacy media or mainstream media, how many stories have they released showing you their true colors and sort of framing public school in a way that, sort of rubs salt in the wound, right? And what I mean by that is, it's like, teacher of Sacramento school district teaches, Antifa to the kids at school. And this teacher over here is teaching, making the kids march in a BLM march. And the media, I'm not saying these things aren't happening, but it's interesting how the media actually like is framing these things to show to these same parents that are already frustrated. They're already angry. Now they get to sit down for the 5 o'clock news or 6 o'clock news or whatever and get there and get punched in the face doubly by the insult. And it's just to what you're saying is that, no, they don't care. The public education system is a joke and has always been a joke. What our kids are learning in school is rarely applied in real life. We all know that. I don't remember anything from school, nothing. And that question, that's where I guess it all arrives at, is like, what is really education and what is school, and what are the things that my child truly needs? And I think a lot of parents aren't concerned with that. They're not concerned about the education piece. They're concerned about, I need my kids somewhere so I can work. And I'm not agreeing with them. I'm just saying I sympathize and I understand that angle too, that they just need a place so that they could function and continue to pay the bills and keep a roof over their head. I'm not saying it's acceptable. I'm just saying that would be the only benefit of the doubt or bone that I'd throw them. But it's the system, it's set up to trap you in that way,
Well, no, that I think that's why I think that I guess I've pinpointed it to, this is the absolute front line. this is the hill to die on, is this situation with our children and their education is the line of no return for me anyway. And I know it is with you, and you're trying to, like, I know we speak the same language from different experiences, right? I live in a much more supportive environment where I'm at, right? Like I go to my church that's about this, right? I have a community of people that are about this.
I'll be honest with you, brother. I mean, look, I'm very thankful for my beliefs and my Islam and my identity. I'm not confused about that. I'm a very Muslim guy at the end of the day. But the but to that is not related to the belief. But the community that I'm attached to are some of the most, they're terrified, they're scared, and they're completely.
Yeah, I see it.
So it's weird. It's like I'm the Muslim guy who would want some of that what has always been in America, or at least, a large portion of America coming from good Christians. That's why I think it was Cat Stevens said that, someone said, and this is not a pull at or a push at Christians, this is just a general, it has some truth to it, at least from our side, is that Islam is a religion without men, and Christianity are men without religion. Okay. And
fair enough.
And I always thought that quote was interesting, because we are missing that, we're missing men, and we're missing. So yeah, there's no support there's not a lot of support. Now there might be, maybe I just need to make some more effort to find them, but at least in my immediate locality, no.
Well, no, it's very much, I think, well, that's what I think is this front line about the thing is where again, is people, and I'm speaking more general, is people seem to be thinking that they can negotiate with the system that's declared war on them. And I think there's the level of night. I guess for me, we're like coming out of this thing as a person who has put all my chips in on this thing, right? And willing to go in the distance on it. And I see it pretty clearly, but at this point, I think now that we're all kind of coming out of the woodwork on this thing, or the pressures being released, or whatever, the strangleholds letting go of the general society, right? It's the language is changing, the perception's changing, the interaction with community is changing, right? Like, and suddenly I've begun to now that I no longer am, now that there's not this big pressure anymore, right? And now it's more of a subtle pressure. I think that I've begun to be like, whoa, you really get a clearer look at the target of the war, right? It was so full scale, like all directions for 2 years. You were really just trying to keep your head above water, not capitulate, hope that something really weird wasn't going to happen. And now as we're coming out of the smoke, right? The one place they refuse to give ground is this thing with our children.
Yeah.
And at this point, there is, like, to use their own nomenclature on this, the science is undisputably clear that this is an unnecessary thing to do, and that it is absolutely developmentally damaging for children to be in this thing, that children are absolutely dependent on facial expression to learn. And there's no doubt denying that. And so what we've seen is the system's willing to give back everything but that. And when you look at that, you're like, wow, now it's clear what's really going on. And it's always from Jump Street, it's never been about protecting Granny. It's never been about getting sauce in adults' arms.
That's brilliant too, by the way. I mean, that is the most brilliant angle to where, and you can't think of a better angle than to hold the guilt trip over people's heads over something that doesn't exist. You're gonna kill Granny over it.
Well, so you have this thing, but so like as all the smoke clears, every bit of this thing has been a deliberate targeting on children, but you couldn't see it because the smoke was so thick. It was numbers in comorbidities. It was the sauce. It was businesses being shut. It was this, it was that, it was, can you fly here? Can you do this? What state's doing that? Where are we moving? What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Now, as of February 13th, it is beyond clear that the entire objective has been children between the ages of 3 and 12 has been the target of this entire thing. And it has not been about sauce. The sauce is, and I've been saying the sauce is a ruse for months now, but it's now gotten clear to me exactly what was the objective. The objective was to developmentally damage a 10-year block of children, like developmentally damage them and take away the most important tool a child has in their development, which is expressions and facial recognition amongst their peer group, right? And that's it. Like I don't know if you caught that speech I uploaded from that woman in New York.
No.
Dude, I mean, it's almost worth playing right now. It's 10 minutes long, but she lays it out, dude. She's like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, it's war. Like, it's that. And
what
it's
is let's hear it.
Let me wait. I don't know how to do. Let me see if I can pull this up. Wait, I got to get crafty here. But yeah, it's this thing where it's super powerful too. You're like, whoa. It's to the point where like I risked my whole channel to upload this thing, like. But I think it's fair, like completely legit because it's a public speech. But where is it? All right.
You're familiar with the Lepercalia in Scottsdale, the Satanic Temple's first annual conference that took place today?
No, but I'm not surprised.
February 11th through the 13th. Isn't that funny how it closes? They end it right on the day of the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl is all a ritual too. So I also think that on this thing that something's becoming that on the nomenclature, the No Agenda guys caught it today. Let me see if I can pull up this really quick before we.
Anthony Patch is really straight, dude. I'm still holding to Anthony Patch.
So listen to this. They got it. They got
analysis of the UK government data of fully vaccinated Britons, and they did a pretty good job of charting everything out. And the headline they make out of it. Here we go. The latest UK Health Security Agency vaccine surveillance report figures show that boosters massively accelerate immune system degradation and that most triple or double vaccinated people in the United Kingdom may develop a new form of COVID-19 vaccine-induced acquired immunodeficiency syndrome by the end of February 2022.
Got the HIV, bro.
Horrible.
So they're already beginning to roll it out, dude. Is it? You like how they packaged that up? The immune suppressant I think I hate to say it, but I think Alex Jones might have been right on this thing again about
Yeah,
the
Anthony Patch had a book.
Patch
on
was
it.
all about it too, dude.
I have the book. It's the I forgot what he calls it, but there's a term he uses. Anyways, I'll find it.
But again, is I think we're going to start seeing that as the thing, is it's going to be this immune compromise deficiency syndrome, aka acquired immune deficiency syndrome, is going to be but they're going to repackage it, of course, and the same culprits are involved, and the same but whatever. It's such a side angle. Because I don't care about that, man. I don't care. For me, between you and me, Jordan, I no longer care what happens to fully functioning adults. Fully functioning adults, if they can't read the paperwork, if they don't want to read the white papers, if they don't want to do their own research, they have to deal with it themselves, right? I love them. I'll help them. I'll do anything I can to deprogram or inform them or love them or detoxify them, whatever it takes. Wait, before we listen to the speech. So this is rad. I had my first, I pulled one back today, dude, from the brink. It was kind of rad. So I was at the Chinese military base and
got a new setup, new skateboard.
No, I didn't get the new Tony Hawk Shaun White combo deal. I was getting a Valentine's Day card, right?
Okay.
And I go in there with me and Owl, right? We're free facing as always. And right next to me, there's this younger dude, right? And he's fence sitting, right? His nose is out. And I look at him and I go, brother, it's time to commit. And he's like, what? I go, take that thing off your face, dude. And he's like, yeah. I go, yeah. And he rips it off his face. And I go, yeah, dude, it's over, dude. You know this, I know this. And we had this 20-minute talk in front of the Valentine's card section about love and grace and dignity, and that it's time to take back your power. And dude, we talked, he was like super rad. His girlfriend was there. I had to go get some other stuff. I came back. He was back at because we forgot to get an envelope. He was back at the Valentine's Day cards again. And he's like, dude, thank you so much, man. Thank you. Like I can't tell you how much I needed to hear that, dude. And I was like, yeah, dude, you're a lot freer now, aren't you, dude? But it was this thing where I realized it's time now to help people that are halfway there already and just go, dude.
No, that's right.
It was a really beautiful experience because I realized that people are just looking for the green lights now. And it's an interesting thing. And I guess that's why I'm I'm not mad at these parents. I'm just more dude, enough with the bitching and moaning about it. Don't, you know what you do? On Monday, you go, if you don't want your kids to be in that stuff, you literally just send them the affidavit saying, I'm pulling my child from public schools. That's it. Fill out your thing and take them home for a while. And until it changes, if you want to go back, you can. It's no harm, no foul. But if everybody who said they didn't like their child being masked up in the state of California and the government controlled education system pulled their child, they would be because it's the federal money. And especially if you've got IEP children, because that's where the federal dough is. Dude, people don't understand the California education system. It's the IEP money. That's why they've got every kid in IEP, dude, is because that taps into the federal dollars, which I think typically a kid gets $45 a day. The federal dollars, I think, triples the amount of money they get per student. You start pulling your IEP kids and homeschooling them, it's game over. It's again, people need to do the same thing the truckers are doing up in Kenyatta, dude, is just pull their children. In Ventura tomorrow, if anyone's in the Ventura area out there, they are having a teach-in at they're having a teach-in, man. Like I was talking about before. So we were saving. they're having a teach-in at the starting Monday, February 14th, 8 to 11 a.m. and continuing until the children are unmasked. The Ventura Government Center Amphitheater, 800 South Victoria Avenue, parking lot A. They're having the teach-in, what I've been prescribing. Just take their parking lots back and bring your blackboards and your books and stop trying to, I guess that's my thing. I wish people would stop trying to beg for gifts from a system that has told you now that they hate you. They hate you. I've been real tiptoey about it too, but young Ripa has been calling this out from day one. Like, they hate you. Get over it, dude.
Who's
already.
Young Ripa?
You don't listen to Young Ripa 59?
No.
Dude, Young Ripper 59 is like the truest dude on YouTube, dude. Eric, the black comic book dude. Oh, that dude gets after it, man. Gun-toting, rock and rolling, libertarian comic book fan, dude.
All right.
Down in Texas, dude. Young Ripper 59 is my boy, dude.
Link.
Oh, I love Young, but he tells it straight, dude. And he's one of his big things that he's all about is this stop sending your kids to the government controlled schools. Stop calling them public schools and call them what they are. They're government indoctrination centers. And it's, it's tough, bro. So yeah, I've been a little bit on the warpath.
It is tough. I feel very, I feel frustrated, brother, regarding it, because I know I need to, we have to definitely bring it to the next level personal, like with my family personally. I've got one of them that's completely out of it, which is good. My oldest, which is, thank God. At the same time, I got three more I got to work on to.
Well, it's
a private school is a little bit, it's a little bit.
Different. Yeah, I mean, you're 1 degree safer. Well, look, it's like this, Jordan, and again, this is what I think one of the brilliancies of how they've done this thing is they've broken up community, right? They've turned community on community so that they could get to the children, right? The basic concept of everything that is society, right? The basic concept of society is to protect the children. That's what all of it's for, every bit of it. So when you disrupt community and you get society to turn on itself, you allow the children to be exposed on the flank, right? And I think that's what we're up against because look, if you and I lived, if we were in the same town or even within a relatively easy distance from each other, we would be helping each other, right? I could totally, we could set up a thing because it doesn't take that many of us. Yeah. But you're up there with a community that's fractured in fear. I live in a weird community too, but I have more resources that are on the same page as me. And it's tough, dude. It's not any easier down here, on this thing because there's a naive aspect within the people that have pulled away too, of oh, well, because, there's that's what I found is interesting with the homeschooler thing is there's the people that are homeschoolers, right? Like homeschoolers. And then there's people like me that are homeschoolers, right? Like I'm not in it. Like the homeschooler thing's almost a weird indoctrination too, of very structured. I'm not that way either, dude. I'm just sort of in the middle trying to all I really want to do is find children for them to hang out with and punch each other out on the grass at the end of the day, dude. I'll take care of the educating, which is, and look, I struggle, man. Let me tell you, Jordan, I sit there sometimes and be like, am I not doing enough or what am I not teaching? And I'm like, where do I lack? And then, I'm out there on, we had this great mountain bike ride the other day where I'm like, all right, man, if that's what that's what it is, right? Like it's very, I think it becomes a very human thing all of a sudden with this. And that's what they don't want, the human experience, right?
Yeah.
They want us institutionalized.
Where do you feel things are at or going in now in relation to, like, you have this so-called, I don't even like to speak this language, but for the sake of whatever, well, we have to speak it, but for the the restrictions are lifted or the mandates are being lifted, which I don't know what that actually means. They've told you it's okay to not wear a mask if you're sauced. But what does it mean with, as far as, you have all this technology that's been built, you have all this infrastructure that's been laid out now slowly. You've had, maybe 40%, maybe a lot more. 40% of the world's population is totally bought into it, maybe more. Where are the next stages do you see this thing going in relation to just like earning a living and paying our just engaging in this existing system that's always been there? Do you think that, what do you think?
I think it's going to be a fine balancing act of controlling ourselves at moments when we doubt, right? And moments when we fear, and moments when we overwhelm, not to run into the hands of our oppressor, right? And I don't, I'm on this thing, is like, I think it's like what we were talking about the other day, is like, I do firmly believe that we have to keep building, right? And we have to keep moving forward as if, right? I don't get into the doom and gloom perspective, but I know that in the inevitability of it, that it's coming. I don't think there's any way out of it. I think that it's coming, but I'm from what I can tell is they don't want us because they can't have us, right? They only want the people they can take. And so I think as long as we're forming community and we're building our own human infrastructure, and I don't mean like buildings and roads. I mean like community infrastructure,
community, partnerships, supply chain, from person to person, family to family.
It's very hard, because I think that many of us who see it by our very nature have not bought into it for such a long time that we don't have a lot of connectivity to that, to like, we're kind of these isolated nodal points, right? I started tuning people out a decade ago of being like, you don't get it. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, great, dude. Like, you're not really, like, I already can count you out because you just don't have any desire to like wake yourself up or participate in this thing. And so I think at this point it's reaching out, which is a very intense concept for me. I think for me, so last year I went and joined the Godspeak Church, right? I heard that it's a bunch of people like me. I was recommended it to by a person I know whose child went to school with my child. They said, dude, the Sunday school thing's great. It's all unmasked. It's all anti-sauce. It's all about God. And so I went, right?
Is that your current church that you're
joining? And I told you last week I was struggling with it, right? So me as a person, I have my own shadows, my own predicaments. I'm an alcoholic. I'm naturally somewhat paranoid. I have delusions of grandeur. I run in that less than space too, but I'm very centered in myself, so I can stand there and allow all of that to move around me. And so a year ago, I started, and within that there's some people I know that are viewers on this channel and who were there. And then there's other people I've met along the way. And as I established to begin to slowly reach out and build these communities, that's why I went back this Sunday, right? I was like, okay, I'm invested in this because Owl's got 2 friends in his Sunday school class, and the dad's a cool dad. They moved here right at the beginning of the thing from Vegas. He doesn't know a lot of people. So we meet and our children play, and I go, they're good people. And then I know some other people, and like the one woman there's like there's this community developing, right? And I'm a natural, I want to get out of here. I want to get out of California guy, but I have to stay and fight and the nonsense in my head. So today I show up, right? And I told you I was struggling with the relationship with the pastor, kind of let me down and got shut out. So I'm standing in the back, my seat in the back I like. And the pastor rounds the corner. This guy's because like a big deal, dude, because he's one of the few churches that's on, hey, we're sovereign and kick rocks. He's like doing the real deal. And he stops and he looks at me and he's like, dude, I apologize. I apologize for like letting you fall through the cracks when you needed me most, like 6 weeks ago. And I looked at him and we made eye contact, and I go, I know, I completely understand. And I gave the dude a giant hug, and we hugged in the back. And like, it was that moment where I've begun to realize that there's something so much out of my depth occurring here, but all I have to do is constantly just stay. Like that's why, like, I think I made that video today is it wasn't me yelling because I'm or saying that because I'm mad. That's me saying I'm gonna stay and fight for you, the parent. Like, join me. Like, let's do this. Stop beating around the bush. And you ask me how I think it's going to go. I think that we've got a shot right now to build our internal infrastructures and our internal communities and build up our resources and our networks. And that if we use this time thinking that they're going to make nice with us because they're benevolent and they love us, we're stupid. And we deserve everything that comes down on our head. But I think if we use the time, look, I went to Home Depot today because I had a coupon to invest in the garden again, right? That garden means that like I'm in it. It's the minute I don't plant the seeds that I've surrendered, dude, and I've given up.
I like that. I mean, for me, I started to fast again and just getting back to where I needed to get myself to, but there's a lot of things that I know I need to get back to practicing. One of them is gardening for sure. And then just regular skating. And I mean, whatever the so-called elite or the handlers or whatever, they don't even know how to wipe their own backside properly, as far as I'm concerned. So they've already destroyed themselves. And so we need to, even though we're seemingly insignificant as far as material resources, there is something to be said about the unifying of the heart and the righteousness and all those things that count way more than anything having to do with materials.
There's something, look, man, and this is something I know that like taps into your faith, is I watched that the situation going on in Palestine, man. I have to say weighs so heavy in where and how it, like, you're one of the few people that would even understand what I'm really talking about. Some people in the chat I know do, like Lily I know knows what I'm talking about. But I watched that Instagram page that I've sent you. I forget what it's called, what's going on, and the brutality that's going on over there right now is so evil. And I'm not going to get into the specifics and fall into the trap, but the evil that is occurring on that place of the planet is coming for all of us. And that's where I think that I think maybe I'm gifted enough to be able to like watch it. I see those posts come up and I'm like, oh my God, here we go. What is going to happen? Like some of the, like there was this stuff today that came up of them dancing, having music, dancing, where there was like the rubble from a house they tore down in someone's house. They destroyed someone's house and they were dancing on the rubble, right? And it was so disgusting to me, like the level of debauchery that is. But that to me is so gross. But there was this other thing like 3 or 4 days ago, and it was a dude who was going to where he had planted his new olive trees, and they had pulled up his olive trees and broke them, like his saplings. And as a dude who sits there and sits with his like blueberry bushes in the morning, right? Like I sit with my coffee and my blueberry bushes are blooming and I got my and I'm stoked. And I look at my orange tree I've been growing the last couple of years, all my coof plants, dude, right? That I bought in that when it began. And I tried to imagine what that must be like and have no like like what that is. And I don't know. I can never even comprehend that thing. And I go, as long as we as humanity bitch about Super Bowls and mayors being unclothed and what the celebrities are doing, and we're not bitching about the fact that some dude's getting his olive trees pulled out and broken, and that houses are being jackhammered and torn apart, perfectly good dwelling structures.
I've always said that what's going on in Palestine is the foundation of all the, if you want to know, like all of the evil of the world in a concentrated area of or all the oppression and evil of the world in a concentrated area is exacted upon Palestine. And then to be able to actually, if a person wants to involve themselves in anything really meaningful, that would be, what I mean, as far as sounding the alarms, that would be the place to do it. But I've been saying that for years, that was the topic and the issue of concern. I had a skateboard graphic I did a while ago where I took the Alan Gelfand tank boy. I mean, the tank, Alan Gelfand ollie board.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. Anyways, and it was, but I've always been very much concerned with that. And it's weird because now with COVID, it's like, it's shielded. It's put everyone in a complete disarray.
Dude, if that was going on in 2018, what's been going on there every day now for it's Dazzler 80.
Amping it up. They've got what they wanted. And
Dazzler 80, go to Vitacost. Vitacost has all that stuff. You get a promo code, the whole thing, dude. Sign up for Vitacost. They got the black seed oil. But yeah, and so when I see this thing, I go, that is the model, like that I see. And again, is the interesting thing is the wherewithal. Again, the dude who's looking at his broken trees is standing there with his friend. And what I notice about it too, because I always look at the details of these kind of things, is they're remarkably well dressed. And I'm like, there's a dignity in these.
Absolutely.
There's such a dignity with this dude standing there with this broken trees.
They're beautiful people, man. Beautiful.
And that's where like that. I think that's where a dude like me, you know, where you asked me that question, which has got me on this tangent about these things is it's all of that. And it's this other thing. And then it's just simply standing next to another dude at the Valentine's card section and just telling him it's okay to take that thing off his face and seeing the smile under there and seeing the relief he had and talking to him that like, if we don't do it in love, we failed the test, right? And that's where I think I fail a lot. Like I want to sometimes scream at I want to get a bullhorn and dude, Jordan, you know how many nights I've sat here and been like, tonight's the night I'm going to go right on the stop signs, complying, right below stop. I'm just going to go to every stop sign till I run out of ink and write complying on every stop sign in Los Angeles, dude. And I sit there and I go, why? Why would I do that? Who's that going? Is that, would that be the thing that's going to change? If that's what's going to change somebody's reality, is they pulled up to a stop sign and it said, stop complying. If that's what it took, that's almost infinitesimally like insane to me to fathom that, because it like may, and again, to this point, Jordan, the fact that every stop sign in America doesn't have complying written across it blows my mind. Like every time I pass one, I go, I can't believe that no one scrawled complying on the bottom of that thing. And I go, maybe I'm supposed to do it. And then I go, well, what does that mean? And then I go, I get into these metaphysical things about these things. And I go, well, I'm not complying. So who am I to stop anyone from complying? Like, comply away. And I think that's where, when I started this thing and why I asked you that question I asked is, why are you falling victim? Why do you think they put that picture out there? Like, you think that douchebag Gavin Newsom and Magic Johnson and Eric Garcetti and Bree London didn't know exactly what they were doing 2 weeks ago?
The way I was listening to a video yesterday it was called something about art and letters of the CIA and the creating of counterculture, and just how the CIA has been creating or framing our culture for years and years. Like, literally, that is these multi layers of operations that are happening. And point being is that when I look at that picture of Magic Johnson, who is the, ironically, who's the representation of HIV.
Yes.
Okay. And then I look at the injections that are happening right now. And we look at the findings that are happening now with the sauce. To me, it's like major salt in the eye trolling.
Oh, yeah.
From the intelligence agencies. Personally, that's how I look at it. And even I almost think there is some sort of weird, almost like there's more, and I'm spitballing, but this is based on what I've heard before from other people I thought that had some interesting views, is that you know, Hunger Games, the movie or whatever, I've never watched it, but I've watched clips of it. And I'm assuming that I got it a little bit right where uh I'll say this and then we'll get into it, but it's like the so-called elite value healthy competition in that the so-called subjects would have a little bit of kickback in them, opposed to those who have nothing at all. And so I look at those, you know, it's like it's gone way past the goalpost on that one. Like look at it for what it is, and they're truly mocking you. I know it's hard for people to, I know you know this, but it's hard for people to wrap their head around this. Why would they mock me?
They hate you.
They are atheists. They don't like God. They don't like family. They don't like anyone catching them on what they're doing or holding them accountable. They hate you. But there's also that thing of where they also want to challenge you and see, you know, are you going to, I don't think they do it consciously, but I think inadvertently that might be a part of it, where they just want to see, are you going to do anything about it? I don't mean physically do anything. I mean, are you going to ideologically check out? Are you going to still believe this ridiculousness after all of what you see? And
well, I think that's why I got like tripped about it, was like, dude, why are you people putting it like that? Because you're showing how pathetic you are. If that's your question, why are they walking around uncovered and then the children are going to go to school on Monday? Are you still in their system asking them to treat you kindly? They have made it abundantly clear every step of the way they hate you and your children. So I get incensed. So here, let's put this on, because this will get you fired. This got me fired up, brother.
I sent you an image, by the way. Check it out.
You want to put that on first?
No.
Okay.
Do this.
All right. Let's get this going here. This is straight fire, dude.
You doing out there?
Oh yeah, I think I saw this lady before.
Good.
Not this one, but I've seen it.
I want everyone to understand, and as much as that was a little out of protocol, what this young man just said a little while ago, I appreciate his enthusiasm and his passion, because we need to leave this place empowered. You understand? It's not good enough to just come here and listen to speeches and go back home and get comfortable again. We are at war. We are at war for our family, our children, our lives. The 14th Amendment gives us due process. It guarantees us equal protection under the law. So why in the world are the unvaccinated being treated differently than the vaccinated? It is the new segregation. It is the new discrimination. And we have to stop it. Government for the people, by the people, will not be destroyed. We have to recognize our power. We are magistrates. What is happening here today, what is happening around our state and in our city, is people are invoking the doctrine of the lesser magistrates. And most of you probably don't even understand what that is, and don't even understand what I'm talking about. Well, the doctrine of the lesser magistrates is the doctrine upon which this country was founded. It is the basis of the 10th Amendment, which says that any authority that is not given to the federal government is reserved to the states. And if our local leaders fail to protect its citizens and fails to step between a tyrannical federal government and its citizens, rights of its citizens, then those rights and authority is extended and given to the people. We, the people, is how the Constitution starts. A magistrate is a person that operates under authority. They have power. There are higher magistrates and there are lesser magistrates. The founding fathers of this country understood that there's going to come a point in time where the federal government will need to be checked. If not, they will become tyrants. And that is what's happening now. So, the Declaration of Independence says that everyone, by virtue of being a human being, has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The federal government, too, the federal government, their purpose is to protect the rights of those citizens, the rights of us to our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. The third point of that document is if they fail to protect its citizens and enforce those rights, the citizens have a right to revolt. Do you understand? We have a right to resist, and we have an obligation and a duty to do so. Do you understand? Do you understand when it says a duty to step between a tyrannical government and its laws? They are coming for our children. We cannot sit down. Every great leader knows, every one of them, even the bad ones know, that if you want to affect the country, you go for its children. When in the world do we start using children as bulletproof vests for us? When in the world do we start testing things on children? It comes to us first. And when you come for our children, you have started a war. And they have declared war, and we are answering to that war. We are magistrates, and I need you, each one, reach one, and teach one. Do you understand? As a magistrate in this country, the United States government, our local leaders have to answer to us. The Ninth Amendment says that any rights that are not enumerated in the Constitution are reserved for the people. So I don't want to hear that mandates are not enumerated in the Constitution, because for the fact that it's not enumerated means that that authority and those rights goes to us. And so every one of these mandates are illegal. Every single one of them. Under that 14th Amendment, due process.
File your taxes
Ah,
free.
you're killing me here.
Do it yourself. File
Ira, come on, Ira.
Where's the word?
do it all for you.
Right to equal protection is the right to protect my body. When you want to push something into my body against my consent, without my consent, it is rape. And this is medical rape. When you want to take my children into a room and give them a Snicker bar and some damn fries and talk about come get this vaccine, it is tantamount to kidnapping. That's what it is. You don't have control of my children. You don't have control of me. They shut our doors and try to give us God Fauci. To hell with Fauci. The churches are surrendering their pulpits to the demonic hostile. I'm not coming to your church. You're not getting my tithe. Are you crazy? Take your children out to school. I'm a former educator of 24 years. They stopped teaching them years ago. You just didn't know. You just didn't know. Education went to hell years ago. They taught them compliance. They stopped teaching them to think. Analytical thought went out the window with state exams. Those state exams are just being used to track your children, to determine who's going to college, to train them to support this God-forsaken system. All the rest that's going elsewhere. They have pushed us into prison. I don't care how you look at it. If you're in corporate America, you're in prison by your lifestyle. If you're in the government, you're in prison by your job with good benefits. You understand? If you are on subsidy, you're in prison by their benefit. We have to get out their system, pull yourself out, pull your dollars out, and level it.
Heavy. Wow.
All they care about is money. And you can see it with the flip-flopping of the guidelines and of the requirements. And who's at work and who's not at work. And what court says this and another court says that. We have to hold them all accountable. They want to rewrite the Constitution? I'm ready with my pen because there's some changes that needs to be made in this country. So they better be careful who they pull to the table. They better be careful what table is spread because I got some ideas and I'm sure everybody here does too. No time to be comfortable. We have to fight. Every authority in this country, in this world, our laws were written and our authority is delegated by God Almighty. When the laws of this country violate and go against and contradict the laws of God, then that government has become tyrannical. They have to be overthrown. We have to revolt. We have to resist and do anything we can to protect our freedom. And we must be involved. We must be informed. And we must be motivated to act. And we must act. Teach your children. Get them involved so they can stand. So that when someone approaches them, they can stand and know what they're talking about. You understand me? Educate yourself so that you know how to resist. They are trying to make these mandates into laws because by the 13th Amendment, if it becomes a law and we break it, we become involuntary servants. We become slaves. They are turning our country into one massive, huge slave ship. And I don't know about you, but I'm not signing up for that cruise line. Don't fight your neighbors. Don't fight your family members that are vaccinated and want to fight you. Walk away in peace. Try to educate them, and if they resist, leave them. Unfortunately, in every war, there will be casualties. And a lot of times, they will be people that we love. So be it. It is what it is. It is what it is. You love them from a distance, you pray for them, and you hope that they come over and wake up. But if they don't, we don't have time. We don't have time. We are at battle, we are in a war, and we have to keep going. We have to be uncomfortable and be comfortable with being uncomfortable. We have to stand, and we are given a charge to fight for your families. Fight
What's her name?
for your homes.
I don't know.
Fight for your brothers. Fight for your sisters.
Can you find out?
Because my God says, pursue the invading army. Because if you pursue them, you will recover. If we back up, we won't. These are uncircumcised Philistines. They cannot stand against the army of the living God. We are the armies of the living God. Know who you are and whose you are. Go back to your neighborhoods and fight. We are magistrates. Let me hear you. We are magistrates. We are magistrates. Stand between.
It's that thing just makes the hairs on the back of my neck come up, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big time.
It's that gnarly, and she lays it out in 10 minutes, man. How, like, what this really is. And again, is, you know, we live in her thing about the 13th Amendment. I don't think people understand what's going on. Is you look in the state of California, and SAB 1933, dude, is it. Like, that's it, man. It's all hands on deck with AB 1933, man. And like, that's the deal. It trumps everything, man. And people are complaining about the celebrities not wearing their face coverings. And they're going to send their children to school the next day and bitch and moan, and they're not going to fight. And so, you know, that I think that there's just been this accumulation where I know there's no going there. I mean, it's not something I'm not aware. There's never been any going back, but it's becoming very clear.
You know, where does one start? You know, because people like me and your viewers, it's like those who are not fully astute to the law, or knowing, or they're not as informed as they need to be. What would be like a way for them to sort of do a crash course, or a way to accumulate, to become informed, expedited,
and informed as
of
what?
just of in relation to like understanding where mandates, understanding your legal right in relation to this whole scam, you know, becoming more well informed in general in relation to this whole thing regarding saucing and
Well,
all the other.
I think there's two directions, right? I think that if you're planning to stay in the system, especially in the government indoctrination system with your children, you have to take a different approach with what information you're trying to get knowledgeable on, right? And I think if you're planning on expediting the thing, some of these things aren't absolutely necessary on the front side. Like I don't care if they like in California, they're legally trying to make it like required to take the sauce for your children to go to school.
Yeah,
Even in right, like, but I
don't have any intention of putting my kids in a public school. So.
But I think that where people are very like, where again, as it gets slippery, is public schools are just a shift over. Like again, is I think you're running into two things. If you wanted
even the private school, if they were there, they also do that in our place where they're trying to push it. So yeah, I would pull them out in a heartbeat. You know, that is not lost on me. So I get that. But yeah,
I think the first thing that, like, again, is I can only speak to the state of California is if you wanted to homeschool your children, the state of California is exceptionally easy. Let me pull up the website.
I already started the Richter Academy. I have the.
Oh, so you've started your whole thing.
Affidavit. Yeah, I have the Richter Academy. I could put my kids right now, and again, our only thing is right now is just like, we're just like kind of waiting it out. I mean, my wife knows it's probably inevitable, so we're just kind of tolerating it right now.
Well, yeah. I think for a lot of people, again, is this at the HSLDA. I think that's it. I think that's the website. I gotta pull my website. I have all this stuff in a file somewhere. Where's homeschool? There it is. So if you were in California, you would want to go to the slda.org. And here, I'll put this link. I'll spam this in the chat. And this is where you start. And what you would find out in California is that homeschooling is beyond simple to get started, and that the big barrier isn't the system, it's your own personal perception of your own ability to do this thing. Sure. And you know, when you ask me, the thing again is if we listen to a like what is a lot of what she has to say. I think her name's Trisha. Someone sent me the thing about my phone went out. I think her name might be Trisha. Is what's the main thing running through her thing is about God, right? And again, is I don't know how we move forward if you don't have a deep spiritual understanding of yourself and your relationship with a God of your understanding, right? Because that relationship with a God of your understanding, even loose, defines our entire format of government. Like, right, constitutionally speaking, if you don't believe in God, then the Constitution almost doesn't apply to you, because it's talking about how your rights aren't granted to you by the Constitution. Your rights are granted to you by God. The Constitution just reaffirms and protects them. So if the fundamental, that's why they've been so busy removing God and 501c3ing all the religious institutions, because it's not about Christianity or any of that. It's about God. And that was the concept of just all you got to do is be with God. And then you would understand that the God Almighty is where all the authority comes from, and that our form of government is not based on anything except your relationship with God. And these rights are reaffirmed in that. And so when I listen to her talks, everything's about God in that talk, as it applies, and that are in the amendments. The amendments don't mean anything if you don't have God in your perception of reality. And that's not slamming someone who's an atheist, like whatever. And again, is where I don't think that people truly understand what we're up against is the Satanists and the demonic ones do have that. And they are using they're a constitutional authority, because they do have a relationship with Moloch, right? They do have a relationship with Satanism, and therefore the precepts of the Constitution apply and are applicable, and they're using the Constitution from that perspective. And where they've duped the general population is to not understand that the fundamental concept of this reality that we share, called the United States of America, is based upon God. The evil ones know this. They've just tricked everyone into not thinking that it's something else, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that that's where I would say it doesn't, forget about informing yourself about mandates and legalese, because all of those, again, are based upon law that come from God.
Yeah, and my rationale behind asking the question is that I need to start doing some writing to my local community and my local leadership, and I'm just looking for sources, and just to become a little bit more
okay, on that I would
on what those laws are in relation to actually they perceive these things to be law, and they're acting according to that, and they're scared shitless. So in the process, they're destroying everyone's life. So I'm just trying to find a way.
So I would say that one of the resources that really seems to do a great job and has given out the information is Crow 777. They've been doing a lot of work. They're definitely more on the employment front with a lot of the people that he's in there. But he had, for example, 2 weeks ago, he had a guest on that was very interesting. And what she was doing, and she was advising people is to form your own, make your family into a church. And when you make your family, you make your body into a church, you're super bound by the protections granted to you in by everything. And you've sort of trumped their thing, because, and what she got into is there's a special filing in the IRS that if you file on that, because it's not about tax exempt status or any of that, it's about the protection of the legalese in the thing, and the entire system is based upon maritime law. So I think, Jordan, if you wanted to really get started, I think one of the great primers is Jordan Maxwell. I mean, that dude lays it out. If you can find him, some of his like more consolidated things where he's not talking about logos and all that kind of stuff. But Jordan Maxwell was getting into this stuff long time ago, man, about the maritime law and what you are. And the minute that you understand that, this is my thing about it, Jordan. I think that once you've decided to move in that direction, because God is what God is, God will absolutely put it at your fingertips. Because I found that everything I've gotten has been directly by me, just like listening to God send it to me through various things. And so I would always recommend Crow 777. You got to kind of dig around in his thing. But when you sign up and you email Rose will send you all the documents, and they've been doing the whole thing. And they're not holding back the information that they're giving out, man. I'll send. Did I send you the one from Rose with all the stuff? Because I've sent it to a couple people, you know. But I definitely I don't promote a lot of stuff, but I will say that it's worth the $7 a month to be a member of Crow 777's platform, just to get access to some of this stuff. And the deeper, because he does, what he'll do is the first hours for free, and then all the goodies are after, so they don't get censored. But
yeah,
and I think that it's I think there's two things going on. I think that once you've empowered yourself, by the very nature of what that empowerment is the information will become apparent to you by showing up and doing the next indicated action, right? Like for example, when I did that school board meeting, right? Like I kind of run an intuitive nature when I do my public speaking and stuff at these civic engagements, right? So I was listening to them on the fly at the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District. And I have a friend who's one of the school board members, right? And I realized it, and the thing is, as everybody's testifying, that everybody was testifying from the perception of them, me, my child in your school system. Mm. And as I was listening to him, I was like, wait a minute. It's an honor system. It's the thing, it's accountability. It's all legalese, right? And it suddenly hit me. I go, wait a minute. Let me put them on notice in this civic body, on this public record. Because when you're in a public, like for example, if you were to send whatever you were going to write to a civic body, that is part of the public record, especially on a public comment for an item or agenda item or whatever. So I was there and I go, you as a board are educators, and in an education board, you're not medical. You have nothing to do with medical. So you making any decision in a public body, you get to own it, because I am putting you on notice that if you pass this, if you break it, you buy it. So any child that's damaged by you passing this requirement to be sauced in this school district, and you vote for it, you hold responsibility for any child that was coerced into doing this. And that would be a mom who's financially obligated to send their child to your school, a divorced parent, anybody who doesn't have the ability to immediately pull their child from the public school system. You own that, and you're obligated karmically to be responsible for that. And dude, like I did it like that, where I put them on notice that if they do this, they get to own the damaged children. And my guy on the school board, because it was all virtual and stuff, he's like, dude, you shut down 2 people right then and there. We're like, and they deferred. They didn't vote for it because they were like, whoa, wait a minute. Because what we have as people here by God, right? We're created in God's image, and we're here by divinity, right? We were placed here by God. We do not have to demand our freedom. We are free by our very nature of conception and the divine spark and all of that stuff. What we constantly have to do is remain free. by not abdicating our authority to any institution or body without our willing consent for it on the deal, right? Which is the whole concept with the sauce and the inserts and the coercion and the whole thing. So when you flip the script on these people and you go, you acknowledge the legal proceeding and put them on notice, it's not even about you then and there. What you've done is you put them in a legal record for anybody down the line to be like, this person voted to coerce me into damaging my child. And therefore, I believe it's like anything else. They've now reserved the right, because when I was a big forest activist, right, one of the things that was super important to do was when they would put public notice about these timber sales, was you had to write a letter immediately. This is back when you wrote letters, and you would write a letter immediately. What you did, why you had to write a letter at this certain parts of these processes, because if you miss certain deadlines, you lost your right to sue. And that's, so if you check out what goes on in the National Forest System and they try to remove it away, is the public process, you commenting early in the public process makes you what is called a stakeholder in anything moving through the system. When you insert yourself in it, you're legally part of that mechanism moving forward from that time on. What they've tricked everyone into doing is not participating in the system early in the game where they have all their power. So by the time it comes to, for example, AB 1933, right, just got put on the assembly I think it's AB 1933.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah, and AB 1933.
So AB 1933 got put February 10th, I believe, got brought up to the thing. So if you, Jordan, send the letter to Richard Pan, I think Mark Wiener, those people in there, right? You write up your handwritten letter, because a handwritten letter carries way more weight than an email. Just because it has your wet signature on it. This is all like this stuff is your wet signature on and if you wanted even to get radical and send them an affidavit about it and get it notarized and put them on notice about it, like they'll all turn. What's gone on is people aren't inserting themselves in the public record early enough to circumvent and actually holding them accountable in the concept of this spiritual warfare, right? She talks all about it in that about the lower and lesser magistrates. It's about, when she's talking about the lesser magistrates, she's talking about you reserving your rights. And if you don't reserve your rights and it moves through the system, by the default of the public process, you've abdicated your authority. So if AB 1933 goes through the thing and you don't actually insert yourself in that public process, you've essentially abdicated your authority for it. And that's why they're super nervous about that's why they want to get you in the street waving a sign and not sending letters, because the letters they fear, dude. They fear the public record. So when I did that slam at Malibu City Hall about the school mandate thing for the sauce, they were terrified, because suddenly they're on the record either voting for coercion of experimental medical products into children, or they're not. And that's where our authority comes from, is God.
I think that this is a call for all of us who are concerned, parents and citizens. It is sort of the call to arms, so to say, not a physical battle, but the spiritual arms. And that's why I told you, and I've been really sort of concerned about this piece of writing, just to start writing, because, and I need to just start, because I've thought so many times when dropping my kids off from school or interacting with my local community, my local mosque, the things I see, I'm just, and also being an employee of the city or a contractor, I'm still a contractor of the city of Fremont. I haven't ended that contract yet. And as now after 2 years, it's come to a head where I have to engage just because my heart doesn't know any other way. So that's when I ask the questions I'm asking, is really just to add to the motivation of doing and carrying it out.
So all right, so this like, I think there's like there's a couple interesting things, right? I think that you can go down this path of the affidavit scholars who are trying to, do this affidavit thing. But I also think there's another avenue that's pretty seems to work for a couple of people is to put them on notice in simplistic black and white terms. I, Jordan Richter, on this date, notice, and you can probably cite what you need to cite, that this is not in compliance with California state law, or however you want to look, or I just don't like what's going on. I'm putting you on notice as this body that I see that you're putting on medical devices on children due to state mandates, and I'm holding you accountable for future possible litigation and civil complaints, and going down and getting it notarized and sending it to them and just holding your thing. I think you can get into the thing
more of just like, hey, if Nuremberg 2.0 comes, when, and not when, because it will come eventually. Who knows in what color or shape or form it'll come, but when it does, I'm putting you on notice for that moment in time, or whenever moment in time where this becomes a legal process.
Yeah, essentially that, I guess that's what I'm getting at is I could probably get Lori on, or one of these people, to say that's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs way to do it. But I think for us as people, we have to act quickly. And I think one thing you can do is instead of, I think even that leaves your ass hanging out if you don't know enough about, let's say, the Nuremberg Code, right? And they can, because from what I understand, they can weasel their way around with the experimental part of that thing due to the emergency use authorization and the legalese on it. So I think what you do is just you write a simple from the heart.
I'm not feeling this.
Basically, I, Jordan Richter, am putting you on notice that what would appear to be an abusive behavior is occurring by having these medical devices on underage children because of, and keeping all emotion out of it, black and white, simple, clear words that and going and sending it in and even being gnarly enough to be like notarizing it. What does that cost? $10? And sending them a notarized letter going, I am holding you accountable if and when the day should arise that you have done damage to, that it can be proven that you've done damage to these children. And if you proceed and you are on notice to drop this procedure in this institution, and then I believe you have to send it 3 times. You have to give them a space to please respond within X number of days. You send them another one. It's the rule of 3s. And you always have to, again, you always have to give them an honorable position to send you back a reply. And you would send it to the person in charge and go, I told you, whatever your name and title is, responsible for any ill outcomes to any children under your care during the hours of blah, 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 while as having these things go on, and you just start doing it. I think that people are overthinking this too, in a certain level. And I don't have that skill, but I know that if you come from the heart, inspired by God, I'll tell this little story. like, because I always do better like that. So when I first ran for city council, right, I did it because my viewers and I had put my money where my mouth is, right? I did the thing, and we're coming up to the first debate, right? And I'm super nervous because I'm going into an arena. I don't know really what I'm getting involved with at that point. I don't know who I'm going in and I know that there's big money involved and people are nervous, but I also understand that they think that I'm just some surfer dude, some stoner surfer guy. But I'm also real nervous that, because I'm newly sober, that I have a track record of debauchery. So I'm super nervous about the whole thing. And I'd been listening to a lot of Eckhart Tolle at the time, right? And it was about that this is your moment, and go in and access reality in your moment, in your time and space, and pray and meditate before he did it. I had a buddy who was running too, one of my sober buddies. And there's this picture somewhere, I don't know where it is the two of us are doing the Lord's Prayer before our first debate. We're both straight rookies, dude. And we're doing the Lord's Prayer before it as two sober dudes. We're going in. I'm fully ready for them to blow me up. And I've made peace with my past and all that stuff. And I go in and I show up at this debate, dude. And we were 7 of us, I think. And it's in this auditorium at the City Hall, and I roll in, and I had done my spiritual work and I'd done my homework. I don't go in with any notes. I just show up. I got this thrift store suit on that fits me perfectly. I show up. I walk in. I'm the only dude without notes. I'm the only dude who's super calm, and I'm in with like the status, like evil people of our community, the real pricks, right? I'm running against. I roll into this thing, man. And I go, I had no fear. I just put everything in God, and I was like, boom. And I literally mopped the table with everyone in the room, dude. They just came right to me with the question. I was just like, boom, no paperwork, no notes, no nothing. Full trusting my divinity in that space. And that was, I think for me, that was the time window that set me free, brother, was that election, because I had the blessing of not knowing, right? I showed up and I had no other choice but to either be empowered by God or turn tail and run. Election number 2, I knew exactly what I was doing. I played it totally different. But election number 1, the one I truly kicked ass on, is because like everything was about being in God and letting the knowledge that God gave me flow out and into the ether. And that's what I think that she's trying to say ultimately in her speech is declare war and let God give you the information, and then the information will start showing up. Again, I think that what we were talking about the other week, where I had to cut certain information streams out of my thing because they weren't giving me the tools to do what needed to be done. And trying to tell me we're not at war, and that the way to win the war is to sit it out. And I don't think that that's the case. I mean, I guess we could move and sit it out, but I don't think
that's my teacher. He talks about that. He's like, well, you don't, if you move, if you run away, you're running away from people who really need you. You're put in a place for the people that you're serving. God brought you into your locality because those people need you. Even if you're not ready, or at least you don't think you're ready yet, you need to be there and get ready. The last thing is to move away because you're not ready. That's a cop-out. And so that whole thing of like going, and I think maybe eventually that'll be moving to a farmland somewhere.
Well, brother, I'll tell you what, I was looking around. I found I found 40 acres in Northern California with a pond, with everything for $400,000, dude. Like,
Really?
yeah,
Where at?
up outside of Laytonville, dude. Like,
Wow.
yeah, like set up for it. It's the hottest at the pictures. It looks like it was an all grow operation. So, you know, it's fertile land up there, man. And like, I don't know, maybe that's something we discuss on the backside, dude,
Well, you know, there's the thing of like setting up with that, setting up, getting land for a school, getting land to start a community, that I envisioned that like a coming together of, let me say, sort of a Islamo-Christian or Christian Islamic alliance of, you know, people who are really trying to get out of there, get off the system, and educate their kids correctly, and having that commonality. At least there's, I don't know, man, but that would be awesome just to have something like that.
well, you know what I envision is imagine if Skatopia was God-centered and child education centered,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
like Skatopia with God and wholesomeness and education and organic farming and
Sure.
instead of debauchery, right? Like, that's what I see. And I think that that's sort of something that, like, for me is I Jones for that. Like, I want to go and build my own, I want to be in that standing and go over and build my own cement half pipes again. And like, I've kind of done all that before. And like, when I lived in Pennsylvania, like, I know how to do it.
Mm.
And again, it's that's the beauty of the whole thing, man, is I think we have all the tools. I think we are the people to do it. I don't think anyone else can do it except people like us. And you know, it's that fine thing, right? Of moving forward and dealing with ourselves, right? Like yours, like how we started this conversation, right? Like, your struggle to find it is ultimately like one of the most important tools to solving the riddle, just like mine is, right? Like, that's where we get all the knowledge. If it was all just 1, 2, 3 and it's easy peasy, like, you don't have to like really dig into God that much. You don't have to discover any new aspects of who Jordan Richter is and what Jordan Richter is going to do with his family. Just like I don't have to, if everyone was handing all this out like it was easy, I wouldn't have to dig into me and deal with myself and be like, oh my God, and what am I supposed to be doing? And sitting there and really truly understanding what that hug with my pastor meant to me today, because it proved that dude was a human being too. And I needed to remind myself that like, this is all very fragile. And as much as I want to spray paint complying on every stop sign that I see, I ultimately know that that's not it either, because that's another form of complying, right? And that's why I guess I got so incensed about the Super Bowl, and then we put our kids back in the school on Monday with the things. I go, that is such a bitch move. Because like, I mean, you and I, we've been talking about this on like this particular thing for a year now, almost. 20 episodes later, we started this because we were two dads trying to figure out how to navigate our children through this thing and skateboard and stay in touch with God and not buy into division narratives, right?
Yeah, no, I know, man. I am feeling at a point now where I gotta definitely start like applying, like doing, you know, and not, you know, talking. I find myself doing a lot of talking, And
Well, I think I think that there's a certain validity to, I don't think I'm any different in that thing is right in the beginning, right? Isn't the first, it was spoken into existence, right? Like, and you know what, that's right in the front of the, like right in the beginning, right? And the word was spoken, or it was spoken. I don't know my scripture like that, but like it's all spoken into like
the
reality.
beginning was the word, and the word was, I guess spoken, something like that.
Yeah. And so I think
I sent that image to you. I do got.
I like this, dude. Why move and create utopia when you can do it with what is art? Interview Congressman Ro Khanna and help him promote his Ro Khanna, dude. That dude is a total scumbag, dude. Ro Khanna, dude. That is like one of the cucks of the system. That's what I mean. Is like, again, it's this dependent upon like cucking to the system that I just can't. We either understand what the system is and that it's unredeemable and that the skeleton within it is legit, but the meat on the bones is rancid and putrid and demonic and gone. Stop trying to save the system. Like that's, I think that's what we're talking. We're not trying to save it. We're trying to build a new arc.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think another conversation for another time, but
yes,
that's where like, because I have a business here and I'm trying to make it work. I need to make money. I need to send out promo codes and, try to grow my income and take care of my family. And then here you have like this reality unfolding in front of us where you have the internet as we know it getting more and more controlled. You have all these new sort of laws and censorship and things going on. And so then you have the VPass and so a person can you can get like spooked out if you start pondering this stuff of like, okay, well, tomorrow is it just going to shut off and I'm not going to be able to access and it's like, well, maybe. And that's where I'm like, it's this fine line between getting up every morning and really just putting everything full on and putting your best foot forward and really making an effort to build something for yourself and your family. And also there's another part of it where it's like this healthy air of skepticism where, it's there is this system as we know it is becoming restructured and reformed. So there is that, part that we have to consider that what we've always known may not be here in the way, well, it's already not here in the way we've known it, but it really won't be here the way we've known it coming potentially sooner than later. And so that's where like this connection with each other, building out our local supply chains, looking for land, looking for alternative means of education, and building things out that are actually true and real to where we can like plug into when the needs arise.
Well, yeah, I mean that I think that's for me has been the like the importance of the kind of the garden in the backyard, man, right? Like it does keep me here in that sense of I by default want to evacuate. And that's just me as an alcoholic, dude. Like I'm always like 1 foot out the door, dude. My natural inherited instinct is to boogie. Like that's what I was saying today about the giving the hug to the pastor and having this meaningful thing. Like this is a dude who everybody wants to talk to, and he stopped full board and apologized to me, dude, before a sermon. And for me, like I had to battle my own mind to throw him out and be like, I've been slighted again and I'm not wanted and this and that. And there must be something he knows about me that I don't know about me that he sees that, and I'm going to run. They don't want me here. Boogie. And I stood and I stayed and I talked to you about it. And I talked to some friends in the church about it. And I was there today and I had nothing in my heart, but like just the love of being there, and just boom, there it happened, because I wasn't in resistance again. I wasn't trying to run. I wasn't trying to stay. I was just being here, which I think is what I think what I think you're saying too to me a lot of the times when you talk to me about it, is like, just stay here with me, brother. Like right in that sense of like the running mind is a dialogue too, of like, I need to go over here, and like we still got a Big Sur camping trip to pull off, bro.
There is a fascinating thing about just being paid, even with my own people, even with my own community. This is a command of God, that to be patient with those, as long as they're remembering God and they're people of God, even though they might have gotten the sauce, unknowingly, there's still people who pray. There's still people that are trying, that's a hard one for me to wrap my head around, but it's still, there's a dimension to that, and a reality that, like those, you have to be patient with those people who are people of God, otherwise who else is left? Like there is something to be said about people that where they're at, they may not be on the level, so to say, whatever that means, of where you're at or where I'm at, but I don't mean that out of an arrogant statement. I'm just saying they may not be fully aware, but yet there are people who pray, and there are people who read scripture, and there are people who are trying to do good with the limited understanding of the world they have. We have to be patient with them, because that's to err on the side of righteousness, rather than to be like elitists, and I'm going to run away and start my own compound, and I'm only going to accept people who are Puritans like me, and that's not the way of Jesus or Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or any of the prophets of God. They were people of mercy and kindness and love. And it's easy to state that from our vantage point, but they really were people, they're chosen by God, but they were people nonetheless that we are supposed to emulate. So.
Well, I think it's funny, like when it's like, I think we have so much work to do here. It's like even the dude at the greeting cards. I mean, I don't know if I told you about the lady the other day at the supermarket I'd run into a year before about the face coverings, and I was like, you don't need to wear that anymore. And I ran into her like this week, a year later, and she's like, she's super hardcore one of us. And she's like, I've been really bummed, man. My husband, he cracked, and is to do it for his career. And she's like, it's really bugging me. And I go, look, like, you got to cut him a little bit of slack. I go, he's on a different plane. Like, he gets it. And you're like, you super on it. You're on a different plane. But I go, let me ask you this. I go, did he take it to go hang out at the bar and do sports and lame stuff? She's like, no, dude, he did it because he was afraid of losing his 30-year career and our mortgage. She's like, I don't care about any of that stuff. And I go, but you have to understand is he's a man, and he was willing to do that so that you could run free and be the warrior princess you are, and that your 3 daughters didn't have to worry about it either. So I go, though, from what I can tell, it's not about that. It's about that the system's trying to divide your dinner table. And I go, you know what you should do tonight is when you leave here, just walk in the door and just tell your husband, I said this, I go, give your husband his balls back and tell him you love him and you admire him for what he's done for the family. And she was like, well, I needed to hear that because she had been isolated in her own mind about the militancy of this thing. And I go, no, dude, like if you've allowed there to be division with your life partner based upon this, they've succeeded. Because that love that you have for your dude and what you know, you can vibrate and pray any possible negativity that the sauce could have in his spacesuit right out of him. That will leave. But if you deflate his energy field and you make him feel unloved and unwanted, yeah, it's gonna eat him. So go home and save your man by like respecting that he was willing to sacrifice for you and the girls. And she was like, whoa. And I go, yeah.
Well said, you know.
But it was gnarly because it was in the chip aisle at the supermarket, and God had made me forget my wallet. It was weird because I'd forgotten my wallet, and Al and I were riding our bikes, so I had to return back, and we were doing like a 1 minute supermarket thing, just getting one thing.
Yeah.
And if I remembered my wallet, I never would have bumped into her. And it was a divine moment of like, because this has to be about love. And I agree with what you say. This isn't about your sauce, no sauce. It's all about.
I've wrote off people myself, like that I really respected, like very much respected, because they got it. I was like, oh man, bummer, like you're lame. And then I'm like, wait, this is a man, like I don't know all the details, but
Yeah,
this is a great man that is like he's never been about jabs and all that, but he did it because there's this whole community of people that are relying on him to do something. And so he was like, I'm going to make this sacrifice so that the people who are relying upon me don't lose out on this thing that I do for them. And bottom line is, I may not agree with that angle, but I'm finding myself to be breeding a lot of anger and resentment, and even borderline, I don't want to say hatred, but like disdain for people that I've cared about so much. And so I've been going through that, like kind of kicking myself in the backside, like, man, that's kind of like weird. That's the other end of the cultish, that's the other end of the spectrum, you know, that you don't want to be. So I like to take the middle road now and just look past the person and look past the injection and just see, you know, the command of God and God's doing and his working. Now, there was one, I'll say this much and then maybe we could jump off, but there was one companion of the Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, named Ali. And Ali was known as a person who had a lot of faith. And so people were like wanting to scare him one time about poison, you know? He's like, the poison doesn't do anything. He's like, it's God's command to the poison. If God commands the poison to harm me, then the poison will harm me. But if God's command is not in the poison to harm me, the poison can never harm me.
yes.
And so he recited a prayer and he drank all the poison. And it didn't do anything to him. He was completely unaffected. This is like historical account. And that's the thing, is that we don't know. There's people, we don't know their intention. We don't know what goes on in their mind and their plan in regards to this. We don't know their faith and their level of connection to God. I'm not advocating that. I'm not that strong. I would be terrified to do that. But, you know, I'm just saying I'm reserving that frame of mind and frame of understanding for those who that might have been their intent.
Well, that's what I think so interesting about this metaphysical experience we're having here is I firmly believe that is if you've done it because you've made your own empowered decision, right? Like, I'm doing this because this is what I want to as a free human being, because it makes sense to me, and this is what I'm doing. Okay, 5-minute warning. Okay. And I firmly believe that's the thing. See, I think the exact opposite. That's why I don't like when they say it's fear and this and that. It's like, no, I choose not. I'm not having any participation in something I absolutely fundamentally oppose, which is that beastly thing, right? Like it's interesting when they try to frame it the way they do is why we don't do this thing. I don't, whatever they say in their talking points of who doesn't do this and why they don't do it. I'm not any of those categories.
Yeah.
I don't do it because I don't have any desire to. It's not, I'm not afraid of the stuff. I'll go, I have no fear of it on that level because I know that the mind is stronger than the body and all that kind of stuff. Like when you say that, I could take the poison and on that same thing, but I choose not to because I don't want to participate in their thing at all on a level.
Well, yeah, it's this idea of like, are you going to introduce foreign materials into your body that you know are not good for you? I mean, it's really simple, but there's people that they're doing it, they understand that, and they're doing it for whatever reason they're doing it for. But
it's that thing. I think if you did it, I think if you're taking it and you don't want to, but so I had a friend, right, who's adamantly anti. It's not a friend. It's somebody I know, but I know this is a true story or true anecdote. This person adamantly is opposed to the sauces, got pregnant, was pressured by the adjacent family members, like you need to do this and blah, 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 and bought into the peer pressure and immediately lost it, like out of the thing. And I think that that's what this is about, is those who have chosen to do it in the sake of hanging on to trinkets or pressure or groupthink or any of that are in a metaphysically weaker state, which means their bodies are in a physically weaker state because of just the way that
it's a form of idolatry.
Yeah, well, it's also a vibratory reality of the electromagnetic body we inhabit, right? If you aren't, I think if you're dependent upon the system and you believe in the system, it probably works for you. But if you're in the middle ground and you have your doubts, I think the doubts are exponentially toxic to you, right? It's right. Think about, like, you're a gnarly like skater, like when you do that thing into Bucky's bowl, right? What's that? 16 feet, 4 feet of vert. When you do what?
14 feet.
I call it 24 feet. But when you do that, right, you you can do it, right? And you go and you do it. And no, but you have the skills, you can do it. I know I might be able to pull it off, but probably can't. Therefore, I shouldn't even try because I don't have the true understanding of trust in my own equipment, which is my own body, right? Which would lead me to ultimately being at the bottom of the thing broken in half. Like when I was 10 years ago, when I was trying to get myself a spot on the mega ramp, I knew I could do it. No doubt about my mind. When I was first making YouTube videos and any one of those interviews, you'll hear me, I'm trying to get myself to the mega ramp, dude. Because I knew I could do it. I knew I could pull it off. Now I know I can't because I know that hole exists in my metaphysical blind spot, right? Where I would sit up there and I would weigh my own physical condition and this and that. Like I still had that fearless trust in my body at 40 that I don't quite have at 52. I could do it I could probably pull it off with the gun to my head, dude. But
yeah, that's usually how
but
that works.
But I think that that's what people are up against. Is I think a lot of people who are fishing out on this stuff are people that had a weakened concept of what it is to be a sovereign human being. And I think if you're a mindless being and not looking for a deeper connection to reality, you're probably pretty good. And it's
you'll be like happy-go-lucky. You might even get lucky to might even have a placebo effect on you.
Yeah, I have no idea. But anyway, brother.
All right, bro.
I love you, man.
Pleasure. Yeah, you too.
Go skate tomorrow. I'm gonna skate tomorrow. I'm gonna go to Venice and give a shred.
Get some footage for us.
Yeah, well, it's just the same old grind.
It's all good. It's always nice to see a same old grind.